HIPcast is brought to you by Enterprise Social Record.
Hey, I don't know if you're watching this on video, you can see that I'm mobile. I'm sitting in the vehicle. However, I am stopped. I'm not driving. So welcome to HIPcast today. We have a really fun opportunity for the students who are preparing for an RHIT and RHIA exam or other certifications. We have some very accomplished professionals that have an incredible model. And today's episode is called Qualified or The Qualified. And I'm excited to introduce Aaron Taylor and Dr. Kengia Sabree. We are going to talk a lot about how to prepare to become an RHIT or an RHIA through a HEMA certification. And we're going to talk about some books that have been written and some very good resources. So if you're a professor or a program director, or if you are a professional who knows other students or mentor students, this will be a fantastic episode to share with them. So welcome to the show. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And Dr. Kengia, I'll start with you. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group, and then I'll go to Aaron for an introduction. We used to read bios, but then we're like, well, everybody hates hearing their own bios. So we'll just ask you guys to introduce yourselves to the group.
It's true. And I don't like giving bios, but I'm Dr. Kengia Sabree. I've been in HIM as long as I can remember, honestly, since I was 14 years old. I started in a summer youth program. I got my associates, my bachelor's in HIM, and then I transitioned and got my master's in education when I began teaching. I started teaching in 2011, full-time 2015, and then I started the Qualified in 2021. And I think that's where I finally not really found my passion, but I decided to take my passion for teaching, learning, and mentoring into this new venture.
Very good. Aaron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, awesome. So I'm Aaron Taylor. I started in HIM maybe 7-8 years ago. Interesting fact, I actually was going to be in a veterinarian and transitioned out because of, I learned about zoonotic diseases, and I was having a son at the time. So I was like, I want to stay away from that when it came to childcare. So transitioned out and wanted to still stay in healthcare. So switched to the administrative side, and it's been love ever since, to be honest with you. I got my associates, got my RHIT, then got my bachelor's, then passed the RHIA. It just from there I met Dr. Kengia, and it was amazing. Just been close ever since. I actually refer to her as my mentor. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say veterinary science is probably one of the most difficult things that people don't realize, because you're dealing with oftentimes the worst part of a pet's life. And I mean, the hardest I've cried was when one of my dogs passed away last year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when my dad passed away, I mean, I was sad, but I knew where he was going, and I was like, all right, he's no longer dealing with whatever. But when Charlie died last year, my youngest daughter was like, "Are you okay, Dad?" And I'm like, "Just give me a minute here."
Yeah. And what people don't understand is, like, you see that almost every day as a veterinarian. Yeah, you see that almost every. Euthanization is so it's so much, because you can't. The hardest part is, like, you can't afford the treatments. A lot of people can't afford the treatments, so it was a toll just being in class. Like, you see that all the time. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're in the HIM field, and we know Dr. Kengia's having some connectivity issues, so we may trudge on here, or do we want to see if... All right, so let's keep going here. So, Aaron, if you're good, we'll just fire all the questions at you on what the Qualified is. So the first question is, can you tell us about the Qualified, how it started, what it is, what services you offer, and how are you helping health information professionals succeed?
Yeah. So how it started, I mean, those questions about its history, I'm not too familiar with. Me and Dr. Kengia, we connected after I passed my RHIA exam. So I got a really good score on my RHIA exam. I wish I would have looked up my score. Like knowing that I was going to talk about my score, I got like 320 or something
That's
really
fantastic.
high. Yeah, and she reached out to me, and this was actually back in 2021 when she said that she first started. Um, and she asked me, how did I get my score? What did I do? How did I study? And I just gave her, my breakdown. Like I told her, I used flashcards. I used study material from AHIMA. I used the book, the HIM Bible. I used all those resources, and then I created my own material from that material, and just locked in for 4 months, and was able to pass my exam. So the process from there, after passing my exam and then meeting with Dr. Kengia, um, I've just been creating different material for, test takers, trying to help them pass, help them understand how they can pass. And that honestly has been, like, I would say, in my opinion, the backbone of my time with the qualified is just, trying to figure out how I can help people pass, how I can help people learn what kind of study material they can use that will help them, better retain the material, essentially. So that's hopefully that answered that full question.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It seems like that whole test taking process is kind of the capstone of going through the HIM program, whether it's at the RHIT level or the RHIA, and it's also a very terrifying moment in a student's life, or post education, as you're going, well, I just invested probably quite a bit of money into this, and now I've got to take this exam, and if this doesn't go well, what do I do? So having the resources to help is absolutely key. I think when I took my exam back in the Ice Age, I guess at this point, I remember it was when they first started doing computer testing. And I went to a location and took the test, and I remember standing up going, I just failed that thing miserably. I think I might have gotten my name correct. That was about the extent of what I thought I might have. It ended up, I passed. Now, I probably didn't get the score that you had, but that's okay.
You passed. Ultimately, that's the goal, is just to pass.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, this is so long ago that I passed my exam that it was after we started the computer exams, and I did get my paper, and it was printed face down, and the person just handed it to me, and I looked at it, and it said pass. I don't remember my score, Aaron, at all, but it said pass. I think it was pretty good, though. I mean, I think it was obviously passing, but I think it was much better. It was definitely better than my CHDA score was and my CCS score. But when I passed it, this is how long ago it was. I left that testing center. I went out and drove down the road a little way and saw a payphone and stopped and called my boss to say I passed the exam. A payphone.
I don't even think that's anymore.
Yeah, I don't think my kids know what a payphone is.
Oh my gosh, no, they don't. My son definitely does it. Definitely does not.
Yeah, I stopped to use the payphone. That's how long it's been. So.
Oh, good.
That's pretty amazing.
You had to memorize phone numbers. Oh.
Yeah. Tell us about the books that you wrote, Aaron. So you helped, or you wrote some books around the RHIA and RHIT exam to help test takers pass their exams. What inspired you to write books? And I'd love to write a book, right? I guess at some point I need to start reading a book to be able to write a book. But to have written 2 books, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's actually been a big dream of mine, to write books, to teach and to write books, actually, to be honest. So the first book I wrote was kind of like, a lot of the questions that I got when I started working with Dr. Kengia was, what is the test even like? What do we, I feel like AHIMA did a really good job at showing the information, but I don't think people know where to look to kind of get an idea of what they're even testing for, or what they're even, the information that's going to be on the test. So the first book that I wrote basically just outlined everything that AHIMA discusses, as far as like how the test is structured, what the test questions kind of look like, and then it also goes into how you can study. So with what I teach people, as far as like learning your study styles. There's kinesthetic learners, there's audio learners, there's visual learners, there's readers, there's different types of ways to learn. And in my book, I basically outlined that and how you can apply your type of learning style to how you can study for the RHIA or RHIT. I also go about giving study tips, how you can look at the questions, how you can, different ways to look at the questions, look at the answers, and differentiate between should I implement this study tactic? Should I implement this study tactic? It's a lot of different tips, tricks, and everything to the first one is all different tips and tricks on how to go about looking at the RHIA, RHIT exam and studying for it, preparing for it, and getting acclimated with the information that you need to study. And then the second book is a full dive into, the study material. Like I put questions in there, I put answers in there, I even added information on when you do get your RHIT and RHIA, how do you go about presenting that information? You want to update your LinkedIn, you want to update your resume, you want to update job boards that you probably post to, like your like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, all of those. And then going even further than that, I listed how you can start applying for jobs, what jobs you want to look into. There's so much in that second book that I wanted to add because it's based off of all the questions that I receive when I'm tutoring, when I'm seeing different people who are asking questions about jobs. It even has information about CEs, where you can get free CEs. And AHIMA did change it to where now you have to get some of their CEs and go through them. But I do need to update the book to add that information too. But I mean, when you get your RHIA, RHIT, you'll start to get to that. So, but yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
It sounds like a child of mine. So yeah,
it sounds like a great resource for students. That's not just about exam taking. So I remember taking like pre-test or what, I don't know what the term would be, but practice exams, I guess would be the right term. But I didn't have the resource at the time to say, all right, now what? And I think that's a really interesting concept, is to provide a book that says, here's how to get you there. Here's what happens when you get there, but then here's how you take it to the next level. I think that's fantastic.
Exactly. And then Dr. Kengia, I mean, I know she can speak more. I wanted to speak more towards the history of the qualified, because it's like, if it wasn't for the qualified, I don't think anything that I would have done would have made it to light. You know what I mean? It was like the whole point, the whole thing of me tutoring, and then me tutoring to get the questions that I got, and then the questions that I got to lead to the book, then the book to lead to what I'm actually about to do next. It's all started with, my time with Dr. Kengia and then my time with the qualified. So I would love to hear her speak on more of the history of how she even got started with that.
Well, the qualified was honestly a passion project of mine that started in 2021. I don't want to say that I was always jealous of the clinical programs, but I felt like clinical programs in institutions, they got more time, they got more attention, they got more resources than HIM. So HIM, I felt like we were the stepchild. So there were so many gaps and resources that I thought my students needed. So I decided to start this little side passion project to help people. And funny enough, I actually presented it to my university at the time. And they were like, wow, I think that's a great idea. We can do these wraparound services for HIM professionals, but it never went anywhere. So I just said, you know what, if I have to start this on my own, I'm going to start it and I'll see where it goes. And here we are 4 years later, so it's been a blessing in disguise. And I hope that, people find the resources and just not only that, but the support that they need when they're starting or as they're continuing their journey in HIM.
Yeah. I think the foundation of that is pretty fascinating, that it came from what you were seeing in the students and what you were seeing in the education world. And then that leads to Aaron, and Aaron, you hearing what students needed during tutoring and through that process, and sort of, Shannan and I would call it discipleship of helping these students through and a mentor type method to being an incredible resource for students today. So I think that's
like what power that has come together from Dr. Kenja's passion to start this, and then recognizing probably from a social media post Aaron's score to say, whoa, how'd you do that? And then her passion and vision to say, come on board and help me help people, right? Help me prepare these students. Help me give these resources. And so the power of the two of you together, the passion plus the skill, is amazing. Aaron, I'm curious about your second book. So what we talked about your first book, did we talk about your second book?
Yeah. So the first book was kind of like the start of the second book, if that makes sense. So the start of the so it was just the basic. I don't want to say basic. It was just like, how do you study for this exam? What's all on the exam? As far as like not the questions, but the information, like what's in domain 1, what's in domain 2, what tips can you use to pass the exam? What like how should you best study for the exam? How long should you study for the exam? All of that is in book 1. Book 2 is just all of that plus questions, how you can go to, what you need to do after your exam. It's all inclusive. So, and I wanted to make sure I did that because, like I said, with everything that I've learned from tutoring people, from being in the forums, from being in even the different groups that are on Facebook, that are on LinkedIn, from just the questions that I constantly get on how do you study? How do you, what do I do with my RHIA? Or, is anybody know any coding positions that are open? And, just different things. Or do I need my coding license if I have my RHIA, or if I have my RHIT? And it's just, I was able to take all those questions and put them in a book and, just open it up for people. So, yeah.
So, Aaron, just tell us really quickly before we move into the next question, just really quickly tell us about the team. I know that there's several folks on the team.
Yeah. So she was getting into like the different sectors of the team. So, becoming qualified, that's me and 5 others who tutor. We tutor for the coding exam, which is the CCA, the RHIA, which is me, and then I also tutor for the RHIT. And then there's 3 other people who tutor for the RHIT and the RHIA exams, including Dr. Kengia. I believe she also does tutoring as well. And then so there's that. Then there is another section where they help kind of people get into their roles. So she has, where she helps people with their resume. She has where she helps people kind of get started on their, because before you even take the exam, you have to fill out a lot of information. You have to do your ATT, or you have to get your ATT number and all that. So she has people on that sector as well. And then there was another group that does the application process, that assists with applications. So, when you're first applying for jobs, you want to make sure that you're applying correctly. So she kind of helps people navigate that as well. And then there's also people for staying qualified. So staying qualified is helping people find those CEUs, helping people do those webinars, sign up for those classes, and then how to navigate AHIMA's website to find those courses that you can take as well. And then, she just messaged me. She said that it wasn't meant for her to do this. So,
well, that's okay. She's got a superstar in you, so we can continue.
Awesome. Yeah. So, so the qualified, they have so many different sectors, just that are able to help in any aspect of once you get your certification, after, before you get your certification, when you get your certification, after you get your certification. And it's so much that she does and that she's opening up to. I know that, this might be a later question, but there's just so much that we're planning on doing in the coming year. Let's go into it.
What's ahead? What's going on at the qualified? And I was going to say a third book idea for you would be young professionals. All right, I've been in the profession. I've got my job. Now what? And then it goes into like the volunteering and the state association, networking, those type of things. It's just an idea.
There you go.
Yeah.
A new idea, Aaron.
No, yeah, definitely. No, right now I'm actually mentoring someone. My first, I guess my first mentee. I've never had a mentee before, so it's really cool. I feel like I've gotten to that place of like just being knowledgeable enough to have a mentee. So yeah, so I'm mentoring someone who's still in college. No, I believe she just graduated in May. So congratulations to her. Shout out Ayana. Amazing person, amazing person. But yeah, so just the questions that she asked, like that book idea is an amazing idea because like younger students, this younger generation, they're going into the workplace and, sadly right now there's like a job shortage, it feels like, for HIM professionals. But she's just asking about questions about how to navigate just how to navigate the job application and the interview process. And, I'm giving her all of the insight and everything like that. So I think I might go into that space as well for young applicants. So yeah, that's an amazing idea. I hope I don't get in trouble if I steal it, but
you got two people here that'll help you with it. We're happy to help because we're passionate about young professionals.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what's next for the qualified? We were going into that and then I took us down a rabbit trail.
Yeah. So qualified. So right now, Dr. Kengia is doing a PMP pilot program. You mentioned earlier in our discussion that you did something with you did a project, Seth. I can't remember. It was a project where you were working with AI, but if you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a long time ago, I started the first enterprise project management office at a health system, and this was when the Affordable Care Act came into play, and I built out a PMO for a health system to lead the digital transformation. So now I work with project teams all across the world in different technology spaces.
Awesome. So did you have to have your project management certification for that?
The PMP was, it was around at that time. And there were a lot of people looking at it, and a lot of my project managers that worked in that office ended up getting that certificate. I did not, because I wanted to just stick with the RHIA and say, all right, I did this, I graduated. I didn't graduate summa cum laude. I graduated praise the laude. And I thought, I'm not going to try to push this any further than I need to push it. So I didn't go down the PMP path, but I know a lot of people did. And that's a highly sought after credential nowadays.
Right.
Especially now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's actually what Dr. Kenja's doing now is she's actually hosting a PMP pilot program that I'm actually a part of now too, where she is giving the opportunity for people to not only get the study material, but she's offering to pay that first test attempt. So you get your study material, you take it like almost like a cohort. You take it with a group of people, and then you study, you get the material, and then you take your first test. I believe we're going to be testing before the end of 2025, if I'm not mistaken. So we haven't started yet. So I believe we're starting in October, and then we'll do October, November, December, and then test in December, or test when you feel like testing. But I'm personally, I don't like to draw out the test.
Don't wait. Get it done.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be testing in December. So you do that, and then hopefully you get your PMP by the end of the course.
That's a great concept with the cohort training idea, because a lot of people, I mean, when I was looking at it 1,000 years ago, it was like, at the time I was my wife was working in the ER at night, and we had baby on the way, and I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to do this, but to be able to do it with a group and sort of walk through that with some people that you can bounce ideas off of, and then have the advantage of, hey, we'll cover the first test attempt for you. That's right. That's a fantastic opportunity.
Is that an invitation for you and I to do that together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, something you don't know is that I peer pressured Seth into getting his doctorate.
Really?
I fall
Really?
to all peer pressure. I
Oh my
officially accept
gosh.
all terms and conditions on the internet, and I also fall to all peer pressure.
Oh man. Oh, you're in tech. You
I
like
know. I know. It's one of those things. But all right, Shannon, you let me know, and maybe we'll be the first ones to do it. And then,
Okay.
well, let's turn it back to Aaron. What do you see the biggest challenges for health information professionals today as you mentor students, as you mentor young professionals? And we're going to write that book together. And then, how does the qualified help address those challenges?
Yeah, so honestly, from what I've seen, the biggest challenge is getting into the space. It's just getting into the space. I've seen so many professionals have trouble just passing their exams, and then also so many professionals trying to get into certain spaces inside of, once they do pass their exam, getting into certain spaces inside of HIM, like coding. Every coding job that I see is like 3 to 5 years experience, and that's entry level. So just getting into certain spaces, even data analytics, those spaces in data analytics is a little tough too, or can be tough. But I always preface, like, try your hardest to get that entry level position. Once you get in that entry level and you could sit there for a little while, then it'll lead to so much more. But yeah, that's what we try and do, is we try and we try and get people to a point where they take things slow, get your certification, study, practice, do the hard work. That's the biggest thing that I say to a lot of people. That's even how I start both of my books, is you have to do the hard work. I talk about my story as far as how long I studied. I studied for 4 months straight. 4 months straight. I created my own material. I worked a full-time job. I had a son who was not even one yet. So it was a lot of work, having to do that. Having to take care of a child, and I worked from home. My the parenting situation that I worked from home. I was 100% full-time with him while I worked and while I studied. So it was so much that I had to do. And I hear a lot of the same story in a lot of the students that I tutor, and a lot of the people that fail the test, and then a lot of people that are trying to find positions. It's, how can I do this? And, I have 2 kids, I have to take them to school. I'm working a full-time job. I had to stay up till 2 a.m. sometimes, and it's tough. Yeah. It's tough, but if you take your time, if you put in the hard work now, you can get that certification. Then once you get that certification, you update your accounts. And once you update your accounts, you can make it to that position that you want to make it to. You just have to do it. And sometimes it might not even be the position that you want, So sometimes, I started off in vet and I transitioned, and even when I got into HIM, interesting story, I didn't work in a clinical setting. I worked in a law office doing their medical records. So sometimes it's just, you want to work medical records. It's not always in the place that you want it to be. You want to get your certification, but you have to put in the hard work. It's just things that you have to know. And I believe that the qualified is teaching that as we're moving on, and as we're talking with students, and as we're, tutoring. I'm also leaving little nuggets of information. I'm telling people, hey, be looking at this, at these CEUs while you're also, while you're finishing up your courses. Be looking at this study material, be looking at these Quizlet cards as you're finishing up in your HIM program or your HIT program. Be thinking about it, be mindful of everything that you're doing. So
yeah, it seems like you have a good bridge between the different steps. Yes. And a lot of times when I mentor students, and it's always a blast to do unless they ask me about coding advice, and I have no clue. But it's always how do you eat an elephant? You eat it at one bite at a time, right? Just take every little step. Don't look at the fact that you want to be the vice president of whatever. What's the next step you have to take today to get to that goal? And it's going to take time.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of my students, I told him, I said, take the job. whatever the job is, take the job. Even if it's not the realm that you want to go into, it's a whole lot easier to find a job when you have a job.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. Oh,
and that's
exactly.
something a lot of people don't tell students. They're like, well, hold out for whatever. I want to be a coder. Well, that's good, but find the job, get a job, and then go find what you're looking for. Then you start building experience. So I think that's fantastic. If a listener's preparing for the RHIA, the RHIT, or any of the exams, or Shannan and I are going to become PMP certified apparently. The qualified assist with, or if someone's just starting out in the HIM field, what advice would you give them to help succeed?
Put in the work. Put in the work. That's advice that I would give to anybody. I had a coach in high school who said he said it so much in everybody would repeat it. But your attitude determines your approach determines your success or your failure. And it was so at the time it was so profound. I was like, what, because it was so above our years. We're in high school. It was so above our years, and I use it till this day. I don't want to say my age, but I'm older now. This is long time ago, and I still use it to this day. And the way you approach something, your attitude to how you approach something is going to determine if you succeed or if you fail. And if you go in with a good attitude, if you go in and you look to do hard work, and you want to do the hard work, you're going to succeed. So however many times it takes you, you're going to succeed. So I tell people all the time, put in the hard work, just do it now. And my advice to everybody is always put in that hard work. Even in my book, I started off by telling my story because I want people to understand how much work it actually takes, especially when you have kids, especially when you're working a job. Even when you're younger and you have that time, you may not be in that space yet. There's a lot, like my mentee, she doesn't have any kids. She doesn't have any, she's not there as far as in her life yet. But even when you're younger, you still have to put in that hard work. There's so many distractions, especially with social media. Don't even want to go on that one, but there's so many distractions that you can take, and I just tell people, put in that hard work. Get away from those distractions. Put in that hard work, and you'll see yourself succeed. You'll see what life gives you when you put in that hard work.
It's fantastic.
There's no easy button for HIM, is there?
No, absolutely.
No, and life happens. That's the thing, is life is there, right? We're living life together, even as professionals. So having that, Shannan and I always encourage folks to go and join their local association, their state association, the national association, because you're going to get additional mentors. You're going to build a network, and those folks are going to help you with work, but they're also going to help you with life. I mean, we've interviewed folks. There's a member here in Tennessee that, she started out as a homeless single mother living in her car and worked her way to now she's about vice president of the world at this point. And then, we interviewed Miss Dorothy, and I think that episode came out in August, and she came out of Mississippi in the late 60s and went to school, and she was working hard and counting lines at night, had kids, going to Vanderbilt, to the hospital during the day to work. It's like, that's inspiring to me, is to be like, she's busting her tail to make sure that she succeeds and she puts better life for her family. So for students and young professionals that are listening to this, I want you to, let's go to the qualified, and I'm going to ask you, Aaron, next, of how do you find information, but also join that local association, build that network out, because people have dealt with the same stuff that you're dealing with and can support you through it.
Yep. And you said it best with networking. Networking is huge in HIM. Oh yeah. Cause, I'm actually, you never want to stop networking. I'm networking now with somebody who's in, it's a cybersecurity space for healthcare. So I'm networking because I want to stay in healthcare, of course. But she also has her cybersecurity certification, and I want to just see where that leads to. So yeah, networking is huge. Putting in that work is huge. And that's a very interesting story about the woman, working through. Like I remember starting off in HIM when I was doing my associates. There was another guy. He was homeless. He was homeless and got a hold of the CCA book, and started studying. I believe he was studying on the street, just studying. Didn't take any. I know at the time there was a lot of like, what are those courses where you can take, like you have to pay.
Camps. Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't take any of those. He just studied the book, passed the certification, and was able to get off the street.
That's amazing.
I remember him telling me this story, and I was just like, wow. And just regular guy, looked very normal, very regular guy. And he told me this story, and it was just in conversation, and it was just very cool, very, very inspiring story. Love to hear his story.
There's some amazing health information, folks.
If you
I
connect us to him, Aaron, we would love to talk with him on the show.
Yeah. No, I honestly, he worked for, I don't know if I can name drop. Am I allowed to do that?
No, you wouldn't want to name that. It might be a conflict of interest or confidentiality thing for him. So
Shannon's better at that than me.
Get his permission first.
Yeah. Oh no, not his name, but I mean like the company that he worked for.
Yeah, I probably would.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was.
But that's awesome. What a great story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell our listeners how they find the Qualified. What's the best way for them to get information?
Yeah. So the Qualified is just about everywhere on a lot of social platforms. You can find Dr. Kengia on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find the Qualified at www.the-qualified.com. You can find the Qualified on LinkedIn as well. I believe she has a separate account for that as well. And then, we're everywhere. I stay on a lot of different forums. I'm on LinkedIn and I reach out to a lot of people on LinkedIn, but I also am on Facebook and I reach out to a lot of people on the Facebook RHIA and RHIT sites, or group, excuse me. I recently got reached out to on Instagram about different about questions about that, and they recognize me. So I do, anywhere you find me, I'm able to answer a question everywhere. Same with Dr. Kengia. She's very, very personable. I reach out to her. I text her all the time. I email her all the time. So you can reach out to her as well, through the Qualified, through LinkedIn Messenger. Same with me, through LinkedIn Messenger. So yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'll put the website link in the show notes as well. So as folks listen to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, they'll be able to see the link direct to you to the website. And Aaron, this was great. I'm very encouraged that there are folks that are taking care of our students and encouraging them and giving them pathways and help to be able to be credentialed, to learn how to be credentialed, and then how to apply that to the job search and beyond. And we appreciate you joining. I hate that Dr. Kengia had some technical issues today, but we got to hear from her just for a moment. But as we said, follow her on social media. She's a great resource for young folks and students. Young folks, listen at me. I sound like an old man. Young folks, but I was born an 80-year-old man. But Aaron, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. And Shannon, until next time, my friend.
I'll see you next time, buddy.